Good? All right. Good. Well, thank you, everybody, for coming out. Obviously, wrapping up the game Saturday, I thought for 3 quarters that was a heavyweight showdown for first place in the ACC, and I thought, we gave as much as we got for sure and went toe-to-toe with them. And, and then just in the fourth quarter, I thought things got away from us. I thought, we had a couple times throughout the game where I really felt like we could have gained momentum or gotten really a hold of that thing, and we just didn't make those plays. There was at 10-0, I think they fumbled the ball in the backfield, and we had a couple guys around it, and we could have got on it, and we didn't. And that drive wound up being a touchdown that gets it back to a 10-7 game, and then we get the big pick six, and you have a chance to create some momentum in the game, and we give up the kickoff return, and they come right back, and then we don't make the fourth down in the goal line area, and then we give up the 96-yard drive, and then we weren't able to respond on either side of the ball. And so, I told the guys, I'm proud of how we went down there. I'm proud of how we played. I'm proud of how we played for 3 quarters. But we're in this thing to finish, and unfortunately we didn't finish the way we needed to. I thought we were, poor in third down in the fourth quarter in particular, poor on offense all night. We didn't do a good job in the red zone on either side of the ball of keeping them out of the end zone or finishing drives into the end zone ourselves. And I think when you look at those things, those are the reasons why we didn't get it done. And so, we got to regroup, we got to refocus, and certainly no one's going to feel sorry for us. And we got to get ourselves ready to go out to Louisville and play a really, really good Louisville team this week in a game again that means an awful lot. And so as you switch gears to Louisville, obviously, Coach Brahm is doing a phenomenal job out there. Watching them on film, they're an extremely well-coached group. You start with their offense. It's a really dynamic scheme. They do a lot of different things to get the ball in their playmakers' hands. Really intricate play-action game, a lot of different run schemes. It's a really, really well-coached, well-put-together offense. The quarterback Plummer's playing at a really good level. I think the Jordan kid is one of the more talented running backs in this league, if not the most talented, and certainly the most explosive from a speed standpoint and a make-you-miss standpoint that we've seen to this point. Jamari Thrash on the outside has been extremely productive all year. He has been a mismatch for people, and Coleman and Callaway aren't far behind, and so they got a lot of talented skill guys. They do a good job with an experienced offensive line, and so another talented offense that we're going against. And then defensively, I think they're number 2 in the league in stopping the run. They're giving up less than 100 yards a game rushing. They're very physical up front. They've got a really, really sound front four. Another team that will load the box and really make it difficult and challenging for you to run the football. And then they've been really talented playmaking kids in the secondary. And so it's a complete football team. They're playing at a really high level. They're coming off of a bye week, and they didn't get the result they wanted in their last game, so I'm sure they're going to be hungry to come out and play their best football. Obviously we've got a lot on the line, so we're going to be hungry to come out and play our best football. And so should be a great game between 2 really good football teams, and go out there and put our best foot forward. And so from there I'll kind of open it up to questions.
Is Riley back to where it was when the injury first happened? Can you at least say, or is it not as bad as that?
I think after talking to the doctors and everyone, and Riley's going to be day-to-day. It's kind of where we're at with that.
Okay.
Mike, you talked after the Florida State game how you didn't get what you needed out of your passing game. I'm sure you looked at the film a number of times. Do you have a feel for what went wrong and how you get that fixed, especially if Louisville is going to stop the run?
Yeah, we just have to find a better rhythm, and it's at every level, and that's what I told the guys. It's obviously when you don't throw the ball well, everything starts with the quarterback and it goes to the receivers, but the timing of it is just off, and whether that's we're not getting the routes open, which is certainly happening some. We're not delivering the ball on time and accurately, which is certainly happening some, or we're not protecting well enough. And when things are coming open, we're not able to get rid of the ball in the timely manner that we want to. And there just seems to be breakdowns in different times at all 3 of those levels. And so, when that happens, you have to go back to the basic fundamentals. We've got to protect. We've got to make clean pockets. We've got to get back into rhythm. We've got to separate and get open on the perimeter. I don't think there's a magical answer to it. I think obviously as coaches, we are consistently looking for the right solutions to put our kids in the best possible positions to be successful. But it really is a rhythm thing. We're just not getting into a great rhythm, and there's a lot of different breakdowns that's causing that. And obviously we're very much aware of the fact that that's something that needs to get better for us to have the success that we want down the stretch.
It obviously wasn't easy for Henry to come off the bench in that situation. But did you go back, did you see anything on film that maybe he could have done a little differently or better? I mean, really close on that fourth down call to make, catching that pass.
Yeah, it's probably the same thing. I think, he goes in and the 4th and 3, credit to them. They did a really, really good job of covering that route and forced us to try to run over the top of a defender all the way to the back pylon. And, obviously we had hoped there was a lot of other options prior to that one, and they just covered them all. And so that became just a really difficult play. I thought they just did a good job on that play. And then you go back and he comes out on the second drive, and unfortunately we have a miscommunication in the line of scrimmage on the very first play, and so we get behind the chains, and then he takes the delay, and now it's 2nd and 19, and so it's 2nd and 19 in the fourth quarter in Tallahassee, and that's not where you want to be, and that's not where any of our quarterbacks needed to be, and it's certainly not where he needed to be on his first full drive out there. And so, that drive goes awry, and then from there it's a 2-score game. And I think it was unfortunate for Henry to have to play the part of the game that he played more than anything, because that part of the game was never going to be our successful part. Right? We talked all week about needing to stay within the chains, needing to stay out of must-passing situations, not allowing their front to tee off, not getting into must-throw situations. And unfortunately, the part of the game that Henry played the most was all of that. And so I didn't look at Henry and think we struggled because Henry was out there. I think we struggled because we lost control of the game, and we had to play a part of the game that was never going to be a recipe for us to have success.
Mike, did you get any explanation on why the play was held before the 4th down that it looked like you wanted to go for?
No, that was that was one of those. So we went out there to try to draw them off sides. We had no intention of running a play. They ran their whole defense off the field, at which point we called a play, and we got to the line to run a play, and they didn't let us run it. So I don't know why they didn't let us run it.
Is there any recourse other than telling the league about it and saying this is...
Yeah, that's what you get, recourse. But I don't know why they didn't let us run the play.
Your pass defense, you mentioned the other night, had a high completion percentage. On film, did you see you guys just get beat in one-on-one battles too much, or what was kind of the...
Well, I think they ran a high percentage throw game. There were certainly a lot of screens that were thrown to the tight end. There were a lot of balls thrown to the running backs. I don't know that necessarily you looked at it and saw a lot of like downfield uncontested catches. They certainly made some contested catches. If you look at the catch Wilson made in the fourth quarter going across, the one he wound up unfortunately getting injured on, hopefully he's okay, but we're draped all over him and he climbs the ladder and makes a catch. If you look at the catch Coleman makes on the 3rd down, we're draped all over him and he makes a catch. And so like at no point did I ever feel like people were wide open. They made plays and at times we just didn't. But I didn't go back and watch the tape and say we did a poor job in coveraging. They made some plays, and I think that's what really talented players do. That's just the nature of it. I think the completion percentage. Jordan's a great quarterback, and I'm not taking anything away from him, but they did throw quite a few. They got the tight end going a lot, and he is a mismatch coverage-wise. He is a problem. I felt like that's where the completion. He's probably 100% throwing the ball to the tight end. So that's kind of what I saw.
Is that more of a pick your poison, where if you're going to cover the outside guys, they're going to have him available?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a pick your poison, and it's also just, they have, and we knew it. Like, I think it's going to be interesting to see, and Mike probably won't appreciate me saying this, but as this thing keeps playing out during the end of the year, he still has some weapons that he can uncoil. We knew about the tight end because of South Carolina and playing against them. I'm not sure they've completely unleashed him like that yet. So it didn't surprise us, but certainly you go into the game and you see what Coleman's doing and what Wilson's doing and what their skill kids are doing on the outside. It certainly draws a lot of the attention.
Coach, going into another ACC road matchup, how do you think the team handled the environment in Tallahassee? Because it was only your second road game of the year. Yeah, I mean, if you look at it from this perspective, and that is the first time this group of kids has played in that atmosphere ever. I think by and large we handled it really well for 3 quarters, and I think there's probably another level that it has to go to in the fourth quarter. We talked a lot about that this morning, and that's really hard to simulate. How much it feels frenetic when they start making plays in that type of environment, and that's something we probably haven't experienced before, and certainly a lesson we'll learn coming out of it, because it won't be the last time. We're going to go right back into that environment again this weekend, and that's just kind of the nature of what these kids have built and the hard work that they've put in. That's what they've created. They've now created these games and these matchups that are in prime slots, that are on national television, that are drawing huge crowds, and that's just a different experience for them to go through on the road.
Last week, Graham and Dwayne told us that last Saturday, had to be the cleanest, best football game of the season. How have you looked at their leadership into this week to respond from a loss like that, going into another ranked matchup with so many ACC implications?
Yeah. I mean, the one thing I don't question about this group is response. I think whether we go out next week and perform well enough to get the desired result, that we'll find that out on Saturday. But we're certainly going to respond the right way. We had a great lift yesterday. We came in this morning with a lot of energy to get working on Louisville. We'll put together a really good week of practice. Our leaders will play a big role in that. Graham, Jacob, Dwayne, and really it's a lot of guys. It's just we're wired in a really good way right now in that locker room, because those kids understand that they've got a very small window to represent Duke football, and they want to try to take advantage of it as best they can. So I'm not worried about our response. I'm more worried about, can we stop this Louisville offense, and can we make enough plays on our side to win the football game? But that'll be the challenge. It won't be whether or not our kids mentally bounce back or put themselves in position to play this week.
When you play a team coming off of a off week, do you try to work in some extra thought to that could have some extra things that we haven't seen from them yet?
Yeah, I mean the beauty of it is they have time that we don't have. Right, and that's what the luxury of coming off of a bye week gives them. They have extra time to look at us and look at them and kind of go through it all. You obviously try to think about how they're thinking about things. I mean, that's certainly what goes into your thought process. What they've done, because it's typical bye week stuff. They've had a more thorough breakdown of us. They've looked at everything that we've done. They've self-scouted themselves, and so to the best you can, you try to predict what the results of all that will become. But at the end of the day, you just got to be ready to adjust on the fly come Saturday. That's just the nature of this.
Coach, do you have an update on Miles Jones' status for Saturday?
Yeah, he's day-to-day. He was out there this morning moving around. It'll probably be a race against the clock to get him ready for Saturday. Unfortunately, he's just got nicked up again at the end of that NC State game, and we weren't able to have him available last week.
Mike, I wanted to ask you sort of a portal question. With Riley, you arrived and Riley was here. He had, and then you got time to kind of bring him along. We've seen some teams go get a starting quarterback out of the portal and then go get another one the next year, where it can be a little bit of a revolving door. Is there an advantage to maybe having a guy on your roster that you recruit, or in this case you had inherited, you're able to bring along, versus the challenge of trying to find somebody in the portal to run your offense?
Yeah, I think I'm going to answer this one very politically correct. I think if you were to choose, you would love for all of your leadership to come from internal spots, right? And so if you're looking at the quarterback to be the leader of your offense, which by nature of the position it's going to be, the longer that kid is in and around your players, the better connections and relationships he's going to have, the better leader he's going to become, right? And so that piece of playing quarterback is really, really important. You have seen some instances where kids have gone on and been able to do that very quickly. You know, Sam certainly jumps to mind, Hartman up at Notre Dame. You know, so you're seeing some kids who are capable of blending into the locker room very quickly and doing those things. You know, it doesn't always work, you know, and so the challenge when you have to bring the quarterback in from outside is less about the arm talent and can he throw the ball, more about what is the connection and chemistry and the fit, and if you get quarterback wrong, like, your season's gone. And so there's a lot, you know, I mean, you bring in the wrong corner, you can figure out how to make that right. You bring in the wrong quarterback, you know, and that's not going to be a recipe for success. And so anytime you can just know what you have, it's certainly better.
Is it, I mean, you know, you use the portal to selectively deal with, we have a weakness here, we can, you know, strengthen this. Is the evaluation different for quarterback if you were to look in the portal than any other position, than based on what you were just saying? Or
no, I don't think the evaluation's different. There's always an unpredictability to it all, you know. Like, so anytime we bring in a kid to this program, we're looking at culture, fit, what's it going to look like in the locker room, how's it going to gel, like all of those things. I think we understand how important all of those things are. When you talk about the quarterback position, they're as important times 10. So you would still do all of that. You would do all that homework, do all that research. But if you study this thing long enough, you know that you're not always going to get it right. And that's where the unpredictability comes in. And, you know, maybe there'll be a day where we have to do that. And so I certainly am not going to stand here and say, you know, we won't do that. But I think if you were to ask, you know, my druthers, I would prefer not to. Good? Great. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.